6 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Every few years, we get a vote, but the laws that shape our lives are written every single day. Too often, elected officials listen to lobbyists, party bosses, and donors instead of the people who put them in office. But what if your representative asked you how to vote? Before casting a vote in Congress or the legislature, they ask their constituents, and they follow the majority. Real representation, real accountability, real democracy, not once every few years, but every time a law is written. If you believe elected officials should represent the will of the people, ask them to take the Direct Democracy Pledge. Find out more at directdemocracy21.org. Because democracy doesn't end on Election Day. Direct Democracy 21. Democracy for the 21st century.
Hello and good evening. Welcome back to Chicago Coroner's segment, Interview with the Candidates. I'm tonight's interviewer, Jose Requena. I'm joined as always with our host and producer, Jerry Vicilatos. Hello, Jerry.
Hey, everybody.
We are joined tonight with a candidate that's running for the 7th Congressional District, Jazmin Robinson. Jazmin, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for creating this platform so folks can get more information about the candidates running to represent them. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We definitely wanted to offer this platform to candidates and community groups to speak more to what's going on in Chicago at the street level. And you're no stranger to those movements and these spaces. So I want to give you a little bit of time to speak a little bit about your background, your time in Chicago, and why you're running for the 7th Congressional District.
Yeah, so my name is Jazmin J. Robinson, and I was born on the south side of Chicago, so that's 65th and South Sacramento by Marquette Park. And my family lived there till I was about in 3rd grade. It's historically a red line district. It was very much not invested in, and there was a lot of violence. So my mom moved us to Plainfield, Illinois. And Plainfield, Illinois was very Republican, very racist, unfortunately. So kind of navigating those systems as a young person and breaking down those prejudice with just being a human and being present. It's called intergroup contact theory. And then I moved back to the city. I love the city. I'm a city girl through and through. I got my bachelor's degree from DePaul University in English. And then I joined the corporate world in total rewards. So my whole job is building, designing, and managing employee benefits. So that's medical, dental, vision, disability, but also retirement like 401k and payroll and compensation. So I do that nationally and globally, and I help employees and employers navigate the complexities of healthcare and also government regulations. There's a lot of government regulations when it comes to total rewards, essentially. And I decided to jump in this race for two reasons. The first, I knew last year I wanted to be more politically involved just with the way that our government was going. And I didn't know what exactly that looked like before I would just donate and vote. And when the big, beautiful bill passed and they said 50,000 people were going to die a year because they couldn't afford healthcare, and this was preventative care, I was like, I have to do something. That this is ridiculous. I literally build policies for a living. And I see how the first world countries invest their tax dollars into their citizens and their infrastructure, which just leads to innovation. And I was like, there's something like drastically wrong. And I was actually going to support a candidate in the race, but when I started to look at their websites, it was like a bunch of slogans. It wasn't like there was no concrete detail. There wasn't like an action plan. And as a voter, I was pretty exhausted with candidates just saying like, I'll fight for you or Medicare for all. It's like, I need a plan. At this point, we need strategy and a plan. We can't just keep saying the slogans that people want to hear. And I also felt like, well, I can't really throw shade at anyone if I don't have a plan. So then I built my own bipartisan policy called the HEAL Act, which is like my main long-term plan. And it took me 3 months to design that. And I was able to design that and cite all my sources because I literally do this for a living. I build policies, and policies are just laws for corporate America. But I also understood that the HEAL Act is a long-term strategy. So I have on my FAQ section of my website, short-term strategy of how I can bring in $300 million in federal fundings into our district, leveraging loopholes and weaponizing laws against this administration. And I think that's the biggest difference between me and the other candidates is that I'm a strategist. I'm telling you the plan on how we can get from A to Z.
Well, that's what we're really asking candidates tonight. We're tired of the slogans too.
Yeah.
We want to know what's the how, and it sounds like you're very well equipped from your experience, especially as it relates to our first topic that I will have Jose lead with.
Well, yeah, the 7th Congressional District is one of the most healthcare rich districts in America. I've learned from my time in trying to organize within it. So definitely there's a lot of strategy from our healthcare upper echelons globally for how to, entrap the healthcare conversation within the 7th Congressional District. So can you speak to your specific details and policies and how you would tackle that and what you would propose?
Yeah. So one, healthcare should be free, and it's not Medicare for all because Medicare for all doesn't cover everything. So it just needs to be healthcare is free. We can afford it if we just go back to a fair tax system like we had under FDR and Dwight D. Eisenhower. And FDR was a Democrat. Dwight D. Eisenhower is a Republican because they knew like the best thing you can do is invest in your citizens. But I also know that's a long-term battle because we have to deal with the lobbyists and the PACs that basically that represent the healthcare industry. So one of the loopholes I'm proposing is investing in nonprofit clinics. And on my website, if you go to the FAQs, you'll see, do I qualify for like high quality healthcare? And you'll see that I have in there, it's like a process doc. If you go to the free or heavily discounted healthcare link.
I'm sorry, where should I click first?
Yeah, frequently asked questions.
Okay.
And then if you scroll down, it's 1, 2, 3. It's the fourth question. Do I qualify for free or quality healthcare? So what is amazing and what people are not educating folks on is that like the majority of the people in District 7 qualify for either free or having 80% of their medical bills paid for. Because, and if you scroll down a little bit more, keep going, that link, click that link.
Okay,
Yep.
Got it. I'm going to share this on our website too.
Please do. Okay. So if you scroll down, or once that opens,
I'm sorry. I got to select the. I got to select this tab. I opened it. It opened up in another tab.
No, you're totally good.
Share this tab. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah. So I do a disclaimer up top because I'm not a doctor or a lawyer, so that is up there. But if you scroll down, I show you that for preventative care, you can actually get that for free for federally qualified healthcare centers. So what people think is that like, oh, if I don't make the federal poverty level, I can't get free healthcare. But these nonprofit clinics and these FQHCs, sometimes they don't just do the federal poverty level, they do 6 times the federal poverty level, which means if you're an individual making like less than $93K, you can get 80% of your healthcare covered. And if you're making at the federal poverty level, you'll get 100%. care free. So if you scroll down, I
How do
have
more
like,
people not know about this?
they don't know about it because candidates and representatives in Congress spend 5 hours every day calling their donors to prep for their next election versus actually sitting down and reading policies and doing the work. That's the difference between me and other candidates. Like,
Okay.
I built this I go over, hey, this is the preventative care loophole. I call them loopholes because they're essentially loopholes. Preventative care loophole, here's major surgery loophole, because the like Northwestern and oh gosh, I'm blanking on the hospital name. I know Northwestern, like they're nonprofit. So nonprofit, they have to provide free healthcare if you're below at the federal poverty level or 6 times above that amount. So if you have like major surgery you have to do and you go there, you can qualify for it. And so like if you go, this is a very long document. Sorry, y'all who are watching who are like, oh, this is it. But it's a how-to guide. I even give you like a cheat sheet of the math. I give you links to all of the centers, how to find them. I show the preventative care. I show catastrophe care, which is where you can go get your surgery at like Northwestern Hospital. And then also like dental care, vision care, because with dental care, you can go get your dental care for heavily discounted at dentistry schools.
Yeah,
and it's some of the, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, we need to start educating, and this is something that I learned too. And I think I'm able to navigate this better than the other candidates because I literally do this for a living. I keep saying, I'm like, like what I do in the private sector is what Congress is supposed to do. So I built this whole guide and I've been sharing it with whoever I can to say like, hey, you may qualify for this, like check this out. So that's my short-term strategy. I was like, okay, we need to educate our base on how they can get this information and how they can leverage this, and then fight for universal free high quality healthcare at the federal level.
So Jazmin,
go ahead.
One of our Chicago Corner colleagues, Edward Heller, he's in the live chat, and he's wondering if you are familiar with this, because he brought this up in the last program or 2 programs back. Not sure which candidate we were talking to, but are you familiar with the Section 1881A of the Social Security Act?
I am.
To provide base level Medicare to everyone like they did in Libby, Montana.
I am not familiar with that, but I will be putting that in my notes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Apparently it's in action somewhere and nobody knows about it. Like we don't know about this fantastic link that I just messaged Ed to put it on the Chicago Corner website. And we'll also share it on our Chicago Corner social media, our X account, Blue Sky, and Facebook. Also, please, everybody watching the show, help spread the word on Chicago Corner. Please like and subscribe and share the channel with your friends and other colleagues, because the more and more people that find Chicago Corner, we can use this channel as a platform and a megaphone to allow more people in the community who are trying to do good by everybody to come and share this kind of information as Jazmin has just shared with us through her website link.
Yeah, and you also mentioned fighting for free, high-quality healthcare in Congress. How would you do that?
Yep. So I think the first thing we have to just recognize is that our Congress has been bought. So PACs, lobbyists, and the ultra wealthy, they finance candidates' entire campaigns. And then that candidate, when they go into Congress, they vote for their donors, not their voters. And people keep saying like, oh, we have to overturn Citizens United. No, that's not enough, because there was actually a study by Princeton University before Citizens United even happened. They looked at 20 years of policy data, and they proved that the bottom 90% of income earners have near zero impact on the policies and laws that Congress makes. It's only the top 10%. And so that's the first thing that we have to admit. I would go into Congress and ask, okay, who's going to fight for universal free high quality healthcare? Find those people, build that caucus, that coalition. And then for the candidates or the Congress representatives who truly have been bought, this is what I think all the Democrats should do, or even Republicans who want universal free high quality healthcare. Go into their district. Go into their district, tell their voters how that Congress representative is screwing them over, and give them someone to vote for. Even if it's a Republican and they're like, yeah, we want this, fine. If you're going to fight for universal free high quality healthcare and you have a Republican as your name on your ballot, fine. If you're going to fight for it, let's go. So I think that's such a great way to infiltrate, because the media has been bought, like it's owned by the 1%, right? So it's like we need to go straight to those districts and straight to those voters. And it's been proven too, right? Like Bernie Sanders went to West Virginia and talked about the oligarchy, talked about Medicare for all, and all those folks who voted for Trump were like, oh, we want this. And not only that, but Trump, when he ran in 2016, he ran on banning super PACs. He ran on clean campaign finances. Yeah, till they bought him. So
he was always bought. I mean, he's a liar. Everything he said, he knew he was going to break those promises, and he bamboozled everybody.
But people voted for him for that.
Yeah, because
that tells you it's there.
Yeah, that's the will. That's what people want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Sorry. So you mentioned, I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit to immigration and ICE. What specific legislation reforms would you pursue regarding immigration enforcement and ICE? Would you advocate for abolition, restructuring, or reform? Or what safeguards would you put into place to prevent civil rights abuses and brutalities against migrants and citizens while addressing border security concerns?
Well, the first thing is like abolishing ICE, in my opinion, is not sufficient, because as a Congress representative, we do not pledge an oath to a party or a president. We pledge an oath to the Constitution. And our Constitution says that if you levy war against the United States, that's treason. And if you are a president or vice president and you do this, you should be impeached and removed. And they also say if you have bribery or extortion, that's when the president and vice president should be removed. It's Article 3, Section 3 and Article 2, Section 4 of our Constitution. So I would push to, one, yes, abolish ICE, but also impeach and remove the president and the vice president for treason. Because when you went and sent federal troops and killed American citizens, you levied war against the United States. And when Pam Bondi said, oh, give me your voter information, then ICE will leave. That's bribery. That's extortion. So that's the first thing I would do. And then we need to abolish ICE. It started, I think, in 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
Came under the Patriot Act. Well, no, I think that I think ICE was introduced
2003.
After the Patriot Act. We had Border Patrol, but then we had ICE, which it basically functions to serve as we've seen now, the executive branch's private Gestapo.
Exactly. So it needs to be abolished. And honestly, it should be, and you can abolish it by like not funding it. That's one way to do it. But again, it's always fighting against those corrupt Congress representatives. But you can do things at the local level. There's a lot of we have Broadview facility. They can take the local municipals. They can literally take away the different. It's like you have to have different permits. You can take those away and close that center. So that's where it's like we need to educate ourselves and fight back in different loophole ways. But we need to replace it with an equitable system, because even our immigration system now is not equitable, right? You have to be very rich or have really good connections to work here or to become a citizen. There just needs to be easy, clear paths to citizenship. And it boggles my mind why people look at immigration like it's a bad thing, or look at diversity if it's a bad thing. If diversity was so bad, why do they tell you to diversify your stock portfolio? It's not bad. And studies show that when you have immigration community, crime goes down in that community. And not only that, but economic stimulus, because those individuals are more likely to open a small business. So that's where it's like it only helps us. And at the same time, those individuals who are contributing to our taxes and everything, they're not reaping the benefits, which is not fair at all. So there has to be clearer paths. And yes, you can definitely do background checks to make sure that they're not violent or anything like that. That I agree with that, but it is not an equitable path at all.
Yeah. No, our system's definitely broken and it's definitely corrupt. It's run by people that are in the Epstein files that are really far from justice. And unfortunately, the legal power is in their hands, and the Democrats continuously fold to empowering the Republicans' legitimacy in having legal authority over our lives. So I kind of wanted to just jump ahead to, you mentioned, going to Republican districts and doing things like Bernie Sanders did. But Bernie Sanders had to rely on slogans like Medicare for All. He has a coalition trying to pass that bill. There's opposition within the Democratic Party against free healthcare access, not even using the full rhetoric that you're speaking to. So how would you try to combat using this legislative position, a runaway executive that's kind of overreaching in power and using ICE precisely to wage war and in a way winning?
Yeah. Well, the legal system is one way to fight back, right? They violated the Constitution on so many levels. So the legal system is slow, though. So the legal system is one way to fight back. But going into those districts, I think what is amiss is change management. So in HR, like in Total Rewards, we have to do change management to show you the changes that are happening and how it impacts you, which I have not yet seen a Congress representative who gives you change management like that. And including Bernie Sanders. No shade to Mr. Sanders, Representative Sanders, but it's not there. So actually educating is key, because when you go in there, you have to show them look, this is how it works. They buy a candidate, they represent the donors, and then kind of showing them the full cycle, because even if they get fired, they turn into lobbyists and they get paid millions of dollars. And then I think it's igniting the anger. There is a lot of anger in our country because people know they're getting screwed over, but they don't know exactly how. And so if you show them it's actually the 1%, that's the minority you need to fight. And you see it in Texas, because James Tallarico is kind of showing that too, is like, it's the 1%, they buy our Congress representatives. And he's doing what he's polling really well. Looks like he can flip Texas. So that's how you do it, is really telling them this is not a fight between immigrants. It's not a fight between Black or brown folks. It's a fight between it's a fight between the 1% and the rest of us. But also educating them on the primary. Only 20% of our nation votes in the primary. That is not good. So showing them how they can fight back with their vote. A lot of people, and I understand this, are disenfranchised with our government, so they don't vote because they don't feel like it counts. But especially in the primary, that is the main place you should be voting, honestly, besides the general election, just because it has such a big impact. There are corporate Democrats who have been bought. Democrat or Republican, in my mind, doesn't mean anything to me. It's like if you've been bought or if you haven't been bought. That's pretty much it. So I think educating and then having them tell other people, putting pressure on our fellow citizens to vote, and holding them accountable, because we're only going to be able to have any change if we unite as a country and fight back.
I appreciate you lifting up Senator Sanders, kind of like his way of speaking to the other side. He's maintained his independent status for a long time, and I do think we see that in James Tallarico's senatorial race, where he's trying to pit the 1% towards the rest of the public. We still don't know if he's going to win his general election. That's going to be a very difficult senatorial race. But to your point, how would you connect that message to voters then, when it comes to U.S. military and foreign policy? Because that's also something that the Republicans, the right wing, the conservative, the haves, the 1% use constantly. After the promise of the 90s, we had the war on terror and the invasion of Iraq that took a lot of people from my neighborhood of Little Village. Joining the military was their chance to do something for their country, to prove something for their family, and to have a chance at a middle class access. It didn't work out that way for any of them.
Yeah.
But we have the same repeat right now with the Iran war.
Mm-hmm.
What will be your message to try to maintain that coalition of Americans?
I think I'm hopeful that Americans are waking up, because what I've seen a lot in the media is we have $1 billion to bomb and kill children at a school, but we can't afford healthcare, which is absolutely insane. Also, educating them on the military industrial complex, because I think it's 8 years now that the military has failed their audit. And the people who are profiting from this are the wealthy, the people who manufacture these weapons. That's who's profiting. And those people finance, they finance candidates' campaigns. So that's what it all comes back to the same thing, which is money in politics needs to be removed because people get bought. And they also do it with their stocks, right? Like Congress representatives bought a bunch of stocks of these weapon manufacturers before. Insider traded.
It's obscene to see what's going on with the insider information. Exactly.
And so that's how, look, in the 90s, it was propaganda. That's how the administration at that time used our fear from 9/11 to implement all of these laws that are unconstitutional. Yeah, the Patriot Act. And I truly think people are waking up because they have no choice but to wake up. They're dying. Our citizens are dying here at home because our government refuses to invest in them, takes away all their benefits, and then starts a war, an unconstitutional war at that.
On behalf of another country.
Exactly.
That all of our money to that we claim we own.
Exactly.
Look,
it's ridiculous.
Let's look at can of worms with AIPAC and infiltration of our country and infiltration of our candidates and how they're all blackmailed. The Epstein file, both sides, Democrats, Republicans, covering for each other. I mean, I don't know that you've had a chance to see our show prior to this, but we're very progressive here. But we do hold the Democrats accountable. We're in this mess.
You should.
Allow this to happen. We're all left leaning, but it's like, when are these people going to stop being eunuchs? When are they going to grow a pair and stop being the Washington Generals to the Republicans or MAGA's Harlem Globetrotters? It's like pro wrestling. It's all kayfabe. It's two-sided duopoly. They're all benefiting, and nothing on behalf of the people that put them in office.
Nothing. And people say, "Oh, Democrats need to grow a spine." No, that's not it. I think you have a pretty strong spine if you sell out your country and you sell out your voters. It's not grow a spine. It's they've been bought. They have been bought and paid for. Or blackmailed. And honestly, if we could get those Epstein files released, I feel like we could get a lot of corrupt people out. And that's so.
Jazmin, for a while, as me and my colleagues here have been lamenting, watching for the past year, how we've just literally been like circling the toilet train, thinking this feels very, very ominously close to civil war, the way that American citizens are being divided against each other. But then I said, well, no, wait a minute now. I'm seeing factions of MAGA splinter. Those that were really more Republican working class, they're realizing they were sold a bill of goods that was bullshit, forgive my language. And hey, maybe instead of a civil war, we can have a revolution. Because the faster both sides see how they've been sold out, the faster we can start uniting on our commonalities and what brings us together as working class people that need healthcare, a fair minimum, a fair
living wage,
fair living wage, and accountability for those that have been literally pitting us against each other for decades, generations, laughing at us. Well, we're pitted against these versus ours. Blacks versus Latinos, whites versus blacks, straights versus gays. It's just like, no, man, we're all in this together. And, the big word that's come out over the past several months is it's the Epstein class. It is us against the Epstein elite class, the elite class that's also, the Epstein class as well. A couple podcasters have been using this phrase now as far as the Iran war has been going on. It's the axis of Epstein. We're in a war as a distraction to protect the elites who have been dividing us for so long, distracting us from all of these important issues we're talking with candidates about here on the program.
Yeah, like wag the dog. I think that's what, or wag the dog's tail or something, where the president literally starts a war to avoid a sex scandal. That's exactly it. It's just corruption. And I think what we need to it goes back to the money, and it's like, okay, we have to call out people who have been bought, or we have to call out these organizations that they're not really helping y'all. They just have a really nice name that makes you feel like they're going to help you. And that's not the case.
Well, the thing is too, it's a very tall order to figure out, well, how are we going to reform the Democrats if for generations they're resistant to that? And it is going to rely on a new slate of progressive Democratic candidates getting in there. But honestly, Jazmin, even after you get in there, if that happens, how do you, I guess it's really going to require a tidal wave of new progressive candidates winning these primaries and these elections to hold the other Democrats' feet to the fire, or the older generations of Democratic elected representatives who have not had to deal with term limits. We've got 70, 80-year-old Congress people who are just not bending at all to realizing you need to move forward, start representing the needs of younger voters, middle class, not just your own elite class that you've been making money off of for as long as you've managed to like make this a career of being in office.
Yeah. And the thing is like, because I have heard of this on the campaign trail of, well, you won't have a lot of seniority, so you can't go into like the committee that you want. And then I counter with, well, have you heard of the committee tax or party dues? And a lot of people have not heard of it. So in Congress, when you get elected and you're a Congress representative, in order to get on a committee, and those are the committee is where you make the laws. In order to get on a committee, the Democratic and the Republican Party say you can't get on a committee until you pay us a party due. And it's to the Republican or the Democratic Party. So
and lobbyists cover their entry ticket is what it is.
Yes. So then they tell Congress representatives to call PACs, paid lobbyists, and the ultra wealthy 5 hours of every single workday asking them for money. And these committee dues are like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you want the chair seat of the committee, which is the most powerful position of the committee, that's like 1.5 million. You're not going to get that from your constituents. You're going to get that from the ultra wealthy. So it's beyond corrupt. And they made this house rule. It's a house rule that they made that they can unmake. So what we can do, because everyone's like, oh, you're going to need, you have to have seniority to get on committee. You have to pay these party dues. No, if we have enough progressives that get there, we can make our own caucus and say, we're going to abolish this committee due BS. And then we're going to start fighting to take back our Constitution, our democracy, because that happened. I think it was 2018. They had a whole batch of fresh Congress representatives and they took power. So that's something that I would actually do and fight for, is advocate, is try to find those people who are fine with upsetting the status quo. Because at this point, if we don't upset it, where are we going to be? Honestly, it's only going to get worse.
And it does, as our colleague in the chat, Ed, mentions here, a tidal wave of newbies in coordination to form a voting bloc to apply leverage. He calls it the volcano caucus. Let's
do it. Let's burn it to the ground. I mean, honestly. So
toss all the garbage into the volcano and start fresh.
Truly. I mean, that's where we're at right now. Yeah. So sorry, I tend to go on tangents. So please.
No, this is what the channel is about. It's like we want to have these conversations and just open up to everybody's point of view and learning from each other. So don't apologize.
Yeah,
I appreciate you covering so many topics too. I think you kind of covered the gauntlet of things that we're going to ask about, from money in politics to ICE to healthcare to the different foreign wars and how to handle the spending. You've really identified the corruption at the heart of this. We haven't had time for this question for a lot of other guests, so I wanted to give you some time for this one. How would you try to prevent your own corruption from these institutions? The 7th Congressional District, is downtown Chicago and Oak Park and the west suburbs. It's very different. It covers a lot of different pots of money and interest, and some of our deepest in Illinois. And you speak to a lot of real reform. How would you prevent yourself from falling prey to those interests and stay loyal to your constituents?
Yeah, transparency is key. So we have to file our FECs and we also have to file our personal financials. So sharing that information with folks so they know exactly where the dollars come from. I've financed the majority of my campaign myself. The individual donations I've gotten are from like people who've met me on the campaign trail and liked what I said. And I think people always look at, I haven't raised $1 million or anything. But the thing is when you raise that much money, you have to think who's been bought, like who is buying you right now, right? We see it with AIPAC, with Melissa Conyers Irvin, she got like 2.8, right? So it's like for people to like kind of like not take candidates seriously if they didn't raise a certain amount of threshold, like that to me is ridiculous. Like if they got on the ballot, they're on the ballot.
So it's getting money out of politics. Literally.
It truly is. And other states are doing it. Other states already have, like, if you go to my website, it goes, how do you know our Congress, our government has been bought? And I literally have it right there. It's like, this is the video you can watch that shows it. This is the other video that talks about the committee dues. And other states are already having publicly funded elections. They already have, if you scroll up a little bit, sorry.
That's right. Where can I find that? So we can play the video if you like, if it's not too long.
No, it's
FAQ?
yeah, FAQ.
Okay.
And then if you go to how do you know the government has been bought? If you click that, it's the second one.
How do you, okay.
And so the first link is 5 minutes long, and then the second one is a little bit longer, but I basically explained it. So I know I went on a tangent, sorry. How do you know that you're not corrupt is one, transparency, showing you exactly who's funding my campaign, and also where I'm spending that money, because we have to show where we spend it too. And a lot of my stuff is spent on flyers because I've been campaigning on my little flyer. Yeah, and this is not cheap. And people are like, "Oh, I think I got this in the mail." I was like, "I can't afford mailers, friends. No, that's not in my bank." So being transparent, also showing them my voting record to show them, okay, this is how, that video tells you the corruption. It's only 5 minutes. I would recommend watching it.
We're happy to play it if you want to. You want to comment on it?
No, I think I just covered it, so I feel like people are going to be like, "You've already said it," but I would recommend people watch it. And so being transparent, showing them where I spend the money, also my voting record and how I've helped them. That's the other thing, is that I don't think candidates do a really great job of, or Congress representatives, of like, what federal dollars did I bring in? Where did we invest it in? And then how did it help you? And also, Chicago's corrupt. Chicago's local government's corrupt. So I would be calling those people out and suing them because you can sue them for disenfranchisement. So, like, for example, we were at a forum in West Garfield, and they were like, we had really bad flooding and like nobody came to help us. And I was like, well, did you know that earlier this year, I think like maybe 2 years ago or something, the federal government gave like millions to Chicago to do preventative flooding infrastructure change. I was like, where'd that money go? Didn't go here because y'all flooded, right? So it's like, we need to audit. We have to audit these folks to be like, okay, what data did you submit to get this? Because my theory is you submitted data from the west side and the south side that have flooding issues, got this federal money, and then you spent it on the more affluent parts of our district, or you lined your pockets. So that's the other thing, is like, we have to audit them. We have to audit them, and we have to sue them. And if that means that they get kicked out of their elected position, good. They shouldn't be there. And I got some criticism because they're like, well, if you go into Congress and you sue, the city of Chicago, or the state representatives, right? You're using Trump to like attack them. And I was like, no, I'm using one corrupt government, which is our federal government, to attack another corrupt government, which is our state government. I will do that. I don't have a problem doing that, because if it means that
of my enemy is my friend.
Thank you. And I'm just like, no. And this is why you will not see endorsements on my page, y'all, because I've been calling out the hypocrisy and the corruption, and people don't like it, which I'm just like, I'm not going to stop. And even PACs, like Track A PAC, that's a PAC. Like, it is a PAC at the end of the day. And I am advocating to ban PACs and paid lobbyists. And a lot of those endorsements that other folks get, I've applied for them, and they're like, oh, no, we're not accepting anything. And it's because I'm advocating to take their power away and give it back to the voters, because they want to still lobby and they still want to hold their PAC. And it's like, and some people are like, oh, there's good PACs and there's bad PACs. There's no such thing as a good PAC. If a PAC or lobbyist has more influence on the government than the average voter, that's an oligarchy. That's a plutocracy. That is not democracy. So no, there's no such thing as a good PAC or paid lobbyist. Also, the other thing is, like, if you're going to do good PAC versus bad PAC, well, the good PAC's losing because the bad PAC will always outspend you. So we need to just clean the slate, which I will say this, a lot of candidates keep trying to copy my talking points, and I do call them out on it, which is just so you know, because I watched the last one with Anthony Driver on here, and he was like, oh, we have to eliminate healthcare PACs and paid lobbyists. And I called him out. I was like, Anthony, you never said that once before, and now all of a sudden you're saying it because you're learning from me. And I was like, but that is not good enough. You need to ban all PACs and paid lobbyists. So, but he has a lot of endorsements from elected officials who also need PAC and lobbyist money to get elected.
Jazmin, it struck me as we've interviewed so many candidates, everybody's got really good ideas, but it really does come down to the how. And I'm incredibly impressed with the solutions you're presenting. You know the how based on your experience, and coming to basically formulating these policies and presenting exactly how you're going to do things. They're not just talking points that other candidates can say, well, yeah, that's a good idea, so now I'm going to stand for that, without actually having the background or propose how it's going to get done.
Yeah. And I think and that's how I built it. Like, I, as a voter, was so tired. I was just so tired of like not having a strategic plan. And the other thing is, like, in Congress, like, every candidate who is running for the 7th congressional district, I will say their professional background is already represented in Congress. We already have lawyers, we already have doctors, we have union reps, organizers, career politicians, like, we have all of them. But never in the history of our Congress, both in Senate and House, have we ever had a human resource professional. And I know HR is not perfect. Trust me, I got burned by HR multiple times. But there are some people in HR who are truly in there fighting against the machine. And I do it every single day at work too, because it's this, if you have these folks in our Congress who don't have the strategy to build a policy and to fight back and leverage those loopholes and get into the weeds, like, you're not going to have change. And I think that's what's so different about me and the other candidates is, like, if you go to my FAQs, I have strategies galore on how we can do this. And it's not just like, oh, we'll just do this one thing. It's like, no, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And we'll just like leverage everything we can to get the outcome that we want. And also educating folks, because like people didn't even know that like community project funding, that is a guaranteed funding that Congress representatives can get, and they can get up to 20 to 30 million a year to invest in their community. Where's that money at? Where's that going? I'd like to know. I don't see it. There's no transparency. So I think that's just the biggest difference is I'm running on strategy, not slogans. And if a candidate gets elected and it's not me and they end up taking my strategy, oh, trust and believe I will be calling them out on it, because maybe you have my strategy for 2 years, but after those 2 years, where are you going to be? You're going to be lost without copying me, basically.
Well, also, obviously, Congress needs the diversity. Congress needs the experience of diverse voices like yourself that has that background in healthcare policy to lead in new directions that they're completely oblivious to, that they don't have that experience that you have, to start proposing, new and viable solutions to these problems that we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of like figures like Elizabeth Warren, who started as a reformer that needed the help of the institution like Obama to get herself started, and now has kind of become a pack in of herself. Our current mayor, Johnson, that was one of his biggest endorsements. It hasn't done much about the systemic corruption in Chicago, to your point about there's a lot of candidates that might be lifting from your ideas because they have connections to other political officials that have the staying long-term strategy for themselves, not necessarily for our nation or humanity or humankind, which you're advocating for. So I just wanted to maybe ask, I've only gotten the chance to ask a few candidates about ranked choice voting with our Speaker of the House, Michael Madigan, in jail, which, I wanted to give you a chance to maybe weigh on, since you like to kind of like speak to that. We have a new Speaker of the House, Chris Welch, who has seen Republicans in the state love billionaire candidates, billionaires for governor, billionaires for county boss, billionaires for attorney generals. If you're going to be an elected official, Republicans in the state like billionaires. And Michael Madigan used his nuclear weapon in the one Democratic billionaire that he had in J.B. Pritzker. So we're at a point where maybe ranked choice voting is a way for the union bosses to have non-billionaire candidates at least have their ideas survive another election cycle. Would you be, open to a coalition for ranked choice voting, or do you think that there's a different strategy we should be approaching?
No, I 100% support ranked choice voting. And if you go to my website, if you scroll down to my flyer, when it says, because I built the HEAL Act. So the HEAL Act is it's basically the FDR's New Deal. So if you scroll down to the image, if you go past my front page flyer, if you go past that, and then keep going, this is the HEAL Act. So this is my long-term strategy. It's the It's the New Deal 2.0. And under access to government and fair markets, it talks about banning PACs and paid lobbyists, but it also says ranked choice voting and the Electoral College and required quarterly town halls that representatives have to do so they can't hide from their constituents. So yes, I'm a proponent of ranked choice voting. I think it would be so helpful right now in this race too, because there are people who are like, oh, I don't want to split the vote. I don't want to, I'm going to vote this way because everyone says they're going to win. And my argument is like, just vote for who you want. Literally, please just vote for who you want. And could you imagine if like I won, the candidate who was outspent by like millions, like 7 times, the candidate who ran on strategy, not slogans? I think that would like literally be a huge warning bell for the basically the status quo to be like, oh, people are waking up. And that was the biggest feedback I got too when I was running and going to forums is like, everyone's like, oh, you definitely did your homework. You were the only one who actually said like a thing that you could do versus just talking about like, we need to come together. We need to build a coalition. It's like, no, this is how we need a plan, y'all. Like we need somebody who's going to roll up their sleeves and be a strategic planner here.
You need to vote for the candidate that best represents your ideals. And if more people thought that way instead of, oh, is it going to be the R, or am I going to hold my nose and vote for the D? Because that's just a pragmatic lesser of two evils that I've been brainwashed into thinking that this is the only choice that I have. I tell people, third parties are viable if everybody stops thinking that you have to choose one or the other. And if you're doing anything contrary to that, you're contributing to the problem. You're not. Vote for if more people voted for the third party candidate or the candidate that represented their ideals, then we'd have more third party strengths, third party successes. I'm not embarrassed to say this. I didn't vote in the last presidential election. I was not going to vote for Trump. Okay. But I felt so angry that the Democrats thrust Kamala Harris on us. She ran and never got one freaking delegate. So naturally, they elevate her to be the vice president because they know once Joe Biden strokes out, they've got their Manchurian candidate in there to represent the special interests of the Democratic elite. And I'm just like, no, I'm not voting lesser of two evil because Kamala is lesser of an evil than Donald Trump. I want to be able to wake up the next day, look in the mirror and say, I voted for the candidate that represented my ideals. And unfortunately, that election, neither one did that, but there wasn't a third party candidate that I was even aware of that I could say, well, maybe that's a possibility. So, it goes back to vote for the candidate that represents your ideals. But here's the thing, Jazmin, we've so been brainwashed and indoctrinated generations, our entire lives from being school age into just believing, well, this is American democracy. This is the way it is. And it's the best system in the world. And
it's not. And the reason why, I don't know about for the presidency, because I haven't done research on that, but in Illinois, the reason why you don't see, because I wanted to run as an independent. I did not want to run as a Democrat or a Republican because I was like, you guys are all corrupt. I want to be an independent. Yeah. To get on the ballot, though, it's corrupt two-party system.
Well, I understand your strategy, and I'm not admonishing. No, I get it. A lot of the progressive Democratic candidates are democratic socialists, and that's great.
Yeah.
They're trying to break into a party to hopefully reform it from within, although a lot of people would say that's like getting eaten by a shark and you're going to change the shark.
Yeah.
But look, I understand the strategy and what the
necessities of it. So. It wasn't even a strategy. So to get on the ballot, we have to collect a certain number of signatures. For Republicans and Democrats, it's 0.05. So for District 7, I had to collect 1,164 signatures. But you have to collect 3 times that amount because you'll get challenged. I was challenged by Melissa Conyers-Irvin. They tried to kick you off. So I collected like 3,069 signatures, I believe, the most of some of the other progressives that in this race, I shall say. And to run as an independent, though, it's not 0.05%, it's 5%. So to get on the ballot, you have to collect 10,000 signatures. And 3 times that is 30,000 signatures. That's why we don't see independents on this ballot. That is why. It is corruption. It's correct for the two-party system, because if you have more independents in Congress, there could literally be more change. The party due system would probably be abolished for sure, and we would have like a similar to a democracy, more of a democracy instead of this two-party system. So if that's how corrupt it is in Illinois, I imagine other states probably have these same corruptions that filter that keep the two-party system.
keep it intact and operating like the Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals.
Yeah. So look, I knew government was corrupt. I knew it. Like I know, like everybody knows it, right? I had no idea the level of corruption. I honestly, like, even when I learned about committee dues and party dues and also like how you can't run as an independent, I was like, damn, this is really bad.
Yeah, this is what we got to change. Jose, any thoughts?
I see that we're coming close to the hour, so I did want to pivot a little bit about how to get ahead of this system. I think the parties represent different ideologies that end up working for the 1% at the end of the day. The Republicans, the idea of a republic, you're all represented in this government, all you citizens. But only a couple of you really, we want to hear from, and only, and we will speak for you. Whereas the Democrats have the history of like, we need as many people in the party to overcome the Capitol bosses and the party leaders. And it's an inherently corrupt system that doesn't, that wants people's bodies and not necessarily their voices or feelings. We have this proposal from someone that's been a long-term patron of our channel, of using technology to better poll your constituents and better build that rapport past election day. I think you saw the commercial of it at the beginning of it, but we asked everyone that we bring on the show to comment on this pledge, and if they'd be open to adopting such a mechanism.
Let me run it again also, just so we kind of come up to speed on it.
We get a vote. But the laws that shape our lives are written every single day. Too often, elected officials listen to lobbyists, party bosses, and donors instead of the people who put them in office. But what if your representative asked you how to vote? Before casting a vote in Congress or the legislature, they ask their constituents, and they follow the majority. Real representation, real accountability, real democracy. Not once every few years, but every time a law is written. If you believe elected officials should represent the will of the people, ask them to take the Direct Democracy Pledge. Find out more at directdemocracy21.org. Because democracy doesn't end on Election Day. Direct Democracy 21. Democracy for the 21st century.
Makes too much sense, right? I mean, we're shocked. Like in this 21st century, we have apps. We have an app for everything. We have website integration for everything. But constituents are still supposed to pick up the phone, hope somebody answers at their elected representative's office to tell them, how they want their representative to vote on something. And even then, maybe you'll be lucky if he's fielding, 1,000 phone calls from constituents as opposed to the many thousands of constituents that it would be so convenient for them to look at their app. What does the representative have coming up in legislation for a vote? And what do you think about it? So that the representative then says, okay, 90% of my constituents want this, 10% want that. Okay, I'm going to vote for the majority of the 90%. And also be held accountable the next time they run, so that there's a record, as opposed to a representative getting in there saying they're going to do one thing, do another, and there being no record of a long-term record of how they may have betrayed their voters. If you don't have that kind of a polling mechanism in place.
Yeah. My only concern with that is will people use it? That's my concern, because if you look at the primary, only 14% of our district votes in the primary election. So, and the other thing is, my only other concern with that is
security, making sure it's a
security, and also, propaganda is the other thing. Is the 1% have a lot of money to do a lot of propaganda. So then the voter will be voting based on false information, which I would argue is the Congress representative's job to make sure that they understand what they're voting for. I also feel
this is direct integration between the constituent and their representative. It's the representative puts what's coming up for a vote on the website, right? There's an alert that goes out to only the constituents in their district. You sign up, or you educate people. Hey, you have a voice before your representative that you elected votes on something. You have a voice to hear what he's voting on. Yeah, propaganda, certainly. I mean, you would hope that the representative is not going to mislead the constituents, but that
Yeah.
they're educated enough to look into the issue to like vote the way that they want to based on the information that they get. You are relying on educated voters there. But as it is right now, like, how do you hold them accountable for following through on what their constituents want? And we figured this would be a great tool to introduce, so long as it's safeguarded properly, it's secure, and it's not manipulated by propagandists, as you rightfully expressed concern about.
Yeah, because I think with Medicare or Obamacare, when they did the Affordable Care Act, there was a ton of propaganda and a lot of people hated it. And then, so it was just like, that's my concern. I also think like we can start holding them accountable now. We can start, I mean, again, this is like a thing that I want to do. And it's like, I just need to find time to do it, is like, we can track these bills. Like, we have technology that can track these bills, tell you the impact of these bills, and then start educating folks on it. Like, hey, your representative voted for you not to get healthcare subsidies, right? And just like how it negatively impacts you. And I think that is Congress's job. As a House representative, I should be having these town halls or these meetings with my constituents to be like, these are the things that we voted on. This is why I voted this way. Give me your feedback. And if we could get that feedback before we even vote, I think that would be amazing.
Fair point. Anything else you want to share before we come to the conclusion of the program?
I would say please vote on March 17th for sure. And also talk to your neighbor about voting. We're at such a really critical time I don't want to go to World War III. We're basically in a world war. Like, you don't want your kids to go through that. Like, the fact that we have lost 7 service members is ridiculous. And I think it's up to 8 now. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Probably more. They're probably hiding the casualty numbers.
So it's like, we need to do this. Like, encourage every single person that you know to vote. And this is the time where you get to have options for your Democrat, or even if you're Republican, right? You get to look at the options out there and vote for the best one that's going to represent you, which I hope is me, because I'm running on strategy, not slogans. But just like, thank you for tuning in too, just being civically engaged.
Jazmin, it's been an incredible pleasure. I have to admit, I knew nothing about you until you came on the program tonight, and I'm profoundly impressed with the solutions you presented. And whatever way this election goes, primaries or beyond, you are invited to come here in the future to share whatever you want to share regarding your advocacy or your platform if you are elected. And we hope you have this is the thing. There's so many good candidates with so many good ideas. I think we're in good hands with the candidates. Obviously, some have better ideas than others, better solutions, have actually provided roadmaps like yourself. And just want to extend an open invitation to you. If you ever want to come back on the program, now you know where we are, you know where to find us. We're going to follow up with an email to you, thanking you, along with information on Direct Democracy 21. And just really, really profoundly grateful that you took some time to come on and share these great ideas. And it's encouraging, too, to hear other candidates are realizing, oh, she's got some good ideas. You should be the one implementing them. But, from what may, at least those ideas are out there for implementation to benefit the voters.
And I put it on my FAQ, like, if you're not running in District 7, you can take my whole platform and put it on your website. You can copy every single thing. You don't have to even mention me, because the more people we get into Congress who are going to support the HEAL Act and support fighting for our democracy, let's go.
Yeah. All right, Jose, thanks for leading tonight.
Yes.
Thank you, Jazmin, for your strategies, for your passion, and for your time for joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
thank you so much, Jose and Jerry, for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Remember, everybody, return tomorrow for our next episode of interviews with the candidates. We will be interviewing Illinois Democratic Senate primary candidate Kevin Ryan, Democrat. And until we resume tomorrow, please remember out there in Chicago to watch out for each other, take care of each other, be vigilant. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Please, everybody, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Help us build our viewing base so that more people can participate in the conversation here on Chicago Corner, learn more about what's happening in the community. We also extend an invitation to everybody in our viewing audience. You got some news, you got something you want to share. It doesn't have to be politics. It can be arts. It can be civic engagement, something happening in your community. Come here. Let us know. We'd be happy to have you all on the show. Thanks again, Jazmin. Jose, thanks. we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.